times are changing.
I'm Ed Sullivan, and this is Broadway.
By the content of their character.
During the 1960s, the civil rights movement was at its peak. Before the Jim Crow laws were abolished in 1965, blacks and whites were segregated in public places, schools, and sports teams. In the atmosphere of higher education, specifically in Southern universities, racial statuses were that the students and faculty were mostly white, athletes were predominantly white, coaches were white, and fans were white. Segregation in colleges was still a challenge in sports teams until the 1966 basketball season. Texas Western University, a small school in the South, made history. In 1961, Don Haskins took over as coach for the university men's basketball team, and the culture of basketball started to change. This point in basketball history was historic and a huge step towards integration. In 2006, James Gartner produced a drama documentary called Glory Road to tell the story of a coach who didn't see color and built a team based on their talent instead. Don Haskins was born March 14, 1930. He grew up in Enid, Oklahoma during the time of the Great Depression. His family had very little, but his parents raised him to be respectful and disciplined. By high school, he became friends with Herman Carr, who later worked together and were still friends until Don Haskins passed away on September 7, 2008. An interview with Don Haskins mentions the importance of their relationship.
I met this kid, and we're at the feed store, and we carried sacks of feed all day long. And one day, now Herman was black, and one day we go out late, about 4 or 5 o'clock, just before we got off work, sweating. And I don't know, it had never dawned on me before, but you know, there was water fountain, colored only, and the other fountain said white only. Herman was getting a drink, and I just turned around and went back in. I don't know, I think good Bible says everybody's created free and equal, and it's still not where it should be. You know, Herman and I had one thing in common. We both hated school. You know, Herman didn't like school either. So he said, I'm going to Army. So Herman Carr went to the Army. Don Haskins went over to Oklahoma A&M because of color. And he's good enough to get shot at over in Korea. And he stayed in the Army about 5 years and then went with the Postal Service. And that had a great, great influence. I never saw color again.
Don Haskins was greatly impacted by Herman Carr, which positively affected his coaching career. Reconstructing the meaning of basketball and challenging the ideology of racism and segregation, Don Haskins forged ahead by putting the sport before society and political norms. He accomplished this by being the first coach ever to have 5 African American players on the starting lineup. This was essential for racial integration in sports. However, the team still faced racial vandalism during this time. They were met with resistance in public spaces like staying overnight in motels, eating out at a diner, even walking on and off the court.
Hold on. Man, I'm ready.
Hey, man, I gotta hit the John. Order me some huevos rancheros. Man, will you save that for El Paso? I'm ordering us some pancakes.
Whatever you get, Doc, give me some with some sauce on it, okay?
All right. I already know what I'm doing. Hey, y'all pass the menu.
Hey, great game last night. Never seen anybody play like that.
Oh, good morning. We eat eggs. I need some sausage. Sauce? No.
That's cool. Yeah? Are you guys ordering pancakes today?
I don't get your black stink on me, boy.
Merry Christmas, though. And have a good day, man. All right?
Hey, man, you see them eggs up there? Man, a little plastic. I don't know, man.
Man, you can't see it.
Kid? Kid, what happened? Something's wrong. What happened, son? Kid, what happened? Damn. Help me out here.
No, brother. You all right?
Help him.
Who did this? Shit.
Anybody
Get
see
on this bus. Son, get on this bus. Let's go. Badun. Look at me. Get on the bus.
What's doing?
Who did this, man?
We ain't going nowhere! Get on the bus! Everyone get on there!
Is that everyone?
Move!
As the team traveled, they were faced by discrimination, but the team as a whole protected each other and created a family community. Even though integration was allowed in public places by 1967, integration was still not accepted in Southeastern Conference. Joanne Paul's book, The Arrival and Ascendance of Black Athletes in the Southeastern Conference, 1966 to 1980, discusses how the South resisted change. Paul cites the landmark case of Brown v. Board of Education by making an unwritten law where if the basketball team has an African American player, they are not allowed to let them play. If they do, the legislature will withdraw funds because the basketball team is violating these unwritten laws. In a profound statement, Don Haskins shows the U.S. his black players are just as disciplined as his white players. Breaking stereotypes, he plays his best 5 players who happen to be black. In the championship game against racist Kentucky University, in the 1966 basketball final,
Ignore all this trash. Just get out on the court.
You come in here. Oh, these stupid kids. We got no time.
Try that with me, man.
Let go of me, boy.
Try that with me, man.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Come on,
Don't listen to him. Come on.
final, Texas Western was not accepted by the fans. However, because of Don Haskins' dynamic ability to create a community, he supported the idea of black nationalism. What made Coach Haskins successful in developing this ideology is that he didn't see players that were white or black on the team. He saw them as humans who bleed the same blood and have the love for the game of basketball. Glory Road allows the viewer to experience the hope Coach Haskins develops by sticking by his players' side through a controversial but just act. He created a safe place where his African American players have an agency to formulate and secure their identity with a sense of pride, changing the social perspectives by building not just an integrated team, but a family where there is no discrimination, judgment, or racism on and off the court. Black masculinity was experienced in a positive light through perception, expectation, and representation as a result of Coach Don Haskins' perseverance and leading the Texas Western men's basketball team to a NCAA championship victory. The 1966 basketball season became a critical event that changed college athletics. All players should be defined by their strengths as an athlete, a member of a team, and society. African Americans have a platform to express their identity and break the black stereotypes through collegiate sports. Today, new racial issues are examined regarding black male dominance in sports and biased positions. Race integration in sports continue to face challenges. But with the rise of social consciousness, the study of Africana studies and activism demonstrates a wall being chipped away and barriers beginning to crumble down and fall.